Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about the brand new Amon Amarth album, Berserker, out May 3rd on Metal Blade Records. This album has 12 tracks and it's 56 minutes in length, give or take a second. I'm going to go on record right now and I'm going to say that this is the best Amon Amarth album to date, at least in my opinion. Now, this is a lofty way of getting this album review underway, and I know a lot of you are already perhaps looking at me sideways, wondering where the hell is this dude going with this kind of a comment to start off this album review. You may disagree with me, but at least hear me out, and then at the end you can make up your own mind and have your own opinion. But listen to me and listen to my opinion in terms of why I think this is the best Amon Amarth album to date. I felt going in, my expectations were low. Low from the perspective that the first two singles that came out really didn't offer me anything beyond what I've been expecting from Amon Amarth, from their sound, from their records, from their music. The first two singles kind of fell in line with the typical DNA of Amon Amarth. So from that perspective, my expectations going in were tamed based on those two singles. Nothing could prepare me for what this album had to offer. This album allows the band to retain their DNA, to retain their essence while going through the road perhaps less traveled. I really feel like they've took some chances with this record. They tried something new. They tried a few new things. And to me, they were successful. They were successful, and it really shows that they're so comfortable with where they stand in the metal world today that they're not afraid perhaps of taking a little bit more of a gamble with some songs, or even with a record, or how they structure the songs. They're willing to take risks. They're willing to try new things. And that comes from being comfortable in their own skin, with their own sound, knowing what they want, but at the same time understanding that a band needs to grow, a band needs to evolve, and you have to add a few elements here and there so that your records don't become repetitive and expectable. So they did enough of that on this record, perhaps even more than what I was expecting on this record, to really, in my opinion, push the envelope, really take the band to the next step, to the next level, and really show that this is a band that's not stagnating, that is not treading water. They're really looking at evolving, they're really looking at changing things, and they're really looking at growing. This is a record that, in my opinion, really shows growth and maturity as far as Amon Amarth goes. To me, all of this is represented by the sound and the structure of the record, not the lyrics. On the lyrics side, this is an album that it really doesn't go far or doesn't deviate at all from the band's origins and from the band's DNA. This is a record that's all about stories of Vikings, epic tales of Viking folklore, if you will. So from a lyrical perspective, this album is very linear and it stays true to what the band has been doing since the beginning. So there's not much there as far as changes or as far as going off the beaten path. But I really like the storytelling on this record. I really feel that the storytelling really came to life with some of the tracks on this album, and a lot of that is only possible due to those slight changes on the music side and on the structure side. But from a lyrical perspective, this is what you would expect from an Amon Amarth album. Epic storytelling, epic folk tales of Vikings. I loved it. These 12 tracks, there was no soft track hidden in there. From a lyrical perspective, this album is really strong, and the storytelling on this record, specifically on how some of the stories were told, by incorporating first person, clean vocals, almost like a narrator, by incorporating some of those little details here and there on a track here and there, they were really able to bring the lyrics to life and perhaps offer something, a different approach on how they give you those lyrics. Now, the changes to me on this record, that growth that I mentioned earlier, is really evident is on the music side of things. The music side of things and the structure of the record is what changes everything and is what sets this album apart as far as I'm concerned. I really felt that this record had two major influences. One is not going to be a surprise to anybody, is the Gothenburg death metal scene. I really felt a lot of At the Gates, early At the Gates on this record. And that's not a surprise. I mean, this is Amon Amarth. For me to say to you guys that this record has a heavy Swedish Gothenburg death metal influence, I mean, I'm stating the obvious. Having said that, if you really pay attention to some of the tracks, you really start to find some of those early on At the Gates and other bands from that Gothenburg scene. You start to feel a little bit of those influences into how the songs are structured, the melody of the songs, how melodic some of the songs are, and even the overall structure of the album. To me, the biggest surprise was the new wave of British heavy metal sound that this record had in some tracks. Now, some tracks are very, very strong, driven by that style, by that presence. Bands like Iron Maiden, for example. There's some tracks here that if you close your eyes and you don't know you're listening to Amon Amarth, you almost feel like you're listening to an Iron Maiden riff. So there are a lot of those influences on this record. Sometimes they blended songs and incorporated these two different worlds, the Swedish death metal scene with the new wave of British heavy metal, and in some songs that new wave of British heavy metal was just a little bit more predominant. It had a bigger fingerprint, if you will. And that to me was the major change on this record. What this did to them is allow them to tell the stories and give the stories a different feel, a different vibe. I'm not even going to go as far as saying a different atmosphere. Based on what the story was, who the character was, where the story was based, that drove their influence in terms of what's more specific style they went with in order to better tell the story. Like I said earlier, there were some tracks that really reminds me of Iron Maiden and how they told stories on their records, that larger-than-life cinematic aspect that their sound brings to the songs. Amon Amarth was able to incorporate that in their style of storytelling. And then there's a little bit of atmospheric elements here and there, like pianos, acoustic guitars, like I said, speaking in the first person with clean vocals. These are all, to me, are all elements, while not predominant throughout the record, their presence in the record really helps the storytelling aspect. It really enhances that interaction between the listener and the band when you're telling a story. And when you add those little components, those almost atmospheric components, if you will, to a record like this, a record that's this heavy, that is super dynamic, super aggressive, with songs that have really high tempos, you really have the perfect storm, the perfect mixture in order to have a heavy, melodic, storytelling record. All of these components at play, all of these things coming together on one single record allows for you to have a very well balanced, crafted, extremely dynamic record from the first to the last song. There are no easy tracks. There are no skippable tracks. This is not a record that feels like that has peaks and valleys throughout, like you're going through it and some songs take you on a peak and then there's a fewer songs that bring you a little bit lower and then there's a peak again low. This album has a crescendo to it. I really felt like listening to this album that was a feeling of a snowball effect. With every single song that went by, the momentum got larger, the songs got bigger, the structures of the songs got more fluid, more dynamic. There was a snowball effect with this record that really starts from the first and all the way to the last track. You just feel like the record is gaining momentum as it goes along. Extremely well structured, extremely well put together. A record that's really unified by two key elements, obviously by the lyrics that have similar themes, but also by the styles in music that really allow songs to blend with each other without sounding the same. There are not two tracks on this record that have similar structure or similar sound or similar effects. There are some components that are predominant and there's some components that are used in several tracks, but the way in which they're used is what sets each single song apart from each other. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I have to start with Fafner's Gold. That's the first track on the record, and what a beautiful track to start off the record with. I really like the melodic acoustic riff that the song starts with, and then that riff turns heavier. Now, they kept that riff throughout, that melody, they kept that throughout the song, is more predominant at the beginning and then in the chorus. You can still hear it through the verses, but through the verses it feels stretched. It feels like there's been some tweaks to it. So when you're listening to this song and you get that acoustic start, that beautiful melody at the start, you know it's going to become heavy. It becomes heavier. The drums come in, the electric guitars come in, and you absolutely fall in love with that melody at the start. Now, the fact that they incorporated it throughout the song without necessarily keeping the same melody is what makes this song work. Because, like I said, during the verses, they kind of stretched it out. You can still hear it there, but it's not quite the same. So it feels like it's morphed. But then it comes into full effect in the chorus. So it gives you it just really gives you a very melodic. What this does is it gives you a high tempo verses, very dynamic, very heavy, with a more melodic chorus. But the most important thing is that melody that you get at the start of the track, you're still going to get it throughout the track, predominantly in the chorus. This song is absolutely beautiful. It has heaviness to it, but that guitar melody is out of this world. Very melodic, has a very specific scent to it. I really like it, and I like the fact that they kept it throughout, just changing it slightly in the verses in order to really make it sound different, at least different enough, but still keeping some of the same components in it. So it's different, but not completely different. And I'm really glad that they did that and they kept it throughout, because it's absolutely beautiful. This is a perfect start to the record. It kind of gives you because of that acoustic start, it kind of gives you a nice easy way into the record. And then when you get such a powerful song with such high tempos, heavy, melodic, it really sets the table for what the album is going to offer you from that point on. So I really like the fact that they started with a song like this, a more typical Amon Amarth song, if you will, and it was a perfect way to get your feet wet and to get you into this record. The second song that I want to talk about is Shield Wall. This to me is the Pursuit of Vikings of this record. This song, I would be extremely surprised if these guys do not play this song live. This song was designed, was made, was constructed to be performed in a live setting. What a song they put together. This song also proves a point. It proves that you don't have to have a song with huge orchestration, with huge arrangements. You can have a simple, structured song and still have a song that's an absolute earworm. This to me is the song of the record as far as hookiness, as far as being catchy. Has an extremely hooky chorus, extremely catchy chorus. It's a perfect earworm. Like I said, this is the Pursuit of Vikings of this record. I love this song. It's not an anthem song from a live perspective, but it's a song that's going to get people singing, specifically the chorus. It's going to get people hyped. It's going to get people excited. This song is absolutely perfect from the beginning to the end. I love the message that it has, the lyrics that it has, but more specifically the chorus. This song is perfect from the way it's put together, from the way that it's structured, and it's a song that has that traditional Amon Amarth sounding riffs. I love this song. I love how it sounds. And I'll be extremely disappointed if this song does not become part of their set going forward, because I think this is a song that's going to absolutely galvanize a live audience. Such is the way in which it's structured. Last but not least, Ironside. The reason I picked this song more than the music was because of the lyrics and the story that was telling. I was absolutely taken back by the storytelling aspect of this specific track. Having said that, the guitar riff on this song, Amon Amarth needs to trademark that riff because it is absolutely mind-blowing. I love how the riff of this song, it almost has a slight folk element to it. It is not a folk song by no means, but the way you combine the storytelling aspect of this song with that riff almost becomes a little bit folky. There's a little bit of a mellow, that slash folk element to it that I absolutely love because it enhances the storytelling. This song almost feels like you're sitting around a campfire listening to Ironside tell his own story. It has that captivation to it. It really captivates you as a listener because the music becomes almost atmospheric. The music almost becomes a soundtrack to what the story is about. And this is a song that comes at you from the first person. And I love the middle bridge. I absolutely love what these guys did with that middle bridge. And it has a little bit of a choir in that middle bridge. It has a little bit of a choir. It's followed by clean vocals with Ironside speaking in the first person. It has a lot of really cool components. I really like how they structured the song. I like the fact that they added that more melodic, because this is a heavy song. Specifically in the chorus, it gets really heavy. Real heavy guitars, real heavy drums. It slows down in speed. This is a song that has a quick tempo to it, but in the chorus it slows down and it becomes a lot more heavy, a lot more methodic. So having that bridge in the middle And how cool that bridge was with the choir, and then followed up by Ironside speaking in the first person with clean vocals, very ominousing. Like I said, almost feeling like you're sitting around the fireplace listening to him tell the story of his life. I absolutely love that because it gives the song a little bit of a crescendo. It gives the song a sense that something else is around the corner. Something heavy is just coming around the corner. And then the song picks up, as soon as he's done with speaking in the first person, the song picks up emotion, it picks up heaviness, it picks up the tempo again. So I like how they broke the song into two parts and added that more melodic, stripped down, almost like I said, almost folky approach to it in the middle of the track. It just allowed a song to still remain, the song is still heavy, but the song becomes more about the storytelling and how that story gets to you than about the actual music around it. The music around it is just there to fill in, just like a soundtrack, just like a movie score. So that to me is the beauty of this song. That's what attracted me to Ironside. This is it, guys. This is Amon Amarth, Berserker, out right now, or actually out May 3rd, not right now, out May 3rd on Metal Blade Records. I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys have to say about this album? Do you agree with me or you disagree with me? If you disagree with me, let me know why you disagree with me. If you agree with me, what points did we hit in common? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.